I'm Dr. Isah Momoh. I'm a senior lecturer with the Pan-Atlantic University in Lagos, Nigeria. I'm the head of the Department of Communication and Media Enterprise and the director of the PhD program for the university. I'm actually here to build network for my university in this area of cultural diplomacy, which we think should be an attractive area for the future. I'm encouraging 5 students to do their PhD research in cultural diplomacy, which I see as a multidisciplinary area of study that the world should get concerned with if we are to be one world, one humanity. Hence, I decided to come here and present a problem from Africa that threatens to engulf the world if it is not solved through cultural diplomacy. It started in 1884 with the Scramble for Africa, whose conference was held in Berlin here, and Africa was divided up without reference to African culture and African people, and 2 brothers were separated into Cameroon and Nigeria. This was done in the Niger Delta area, in the Delta area of the West Africa, because, of course, then, water was the main means of commercial activities, fish, transportation, commerce, and so on. And so 2 world powers then, Britain and Germany, were interested in who controls where. So they got to the Calabar area of now Nigeria and drew a line along River Ray, an estuary, and said this part belongs to Germany, this part belongs to Britain. We were not white, we were black. And so we had our culture, the way we bury people, the way we do our things, our tradition and custom. This was re-emphasized in 1962. Then Nigeria had become an independent nation. It was going to be a republic. Britain conducted a plebiscite of what was then Nigeria, what was southern Cameroon, what is now southern Cameroon, voted to remain in Cameroon. What was northern Cameroon then voted to be part of Nigeria. So again, 2 brothers were further divided. And the town that is most affected is called the Bakassi. Hence, the title of my paper is Healing the Bakassi Wound Through Cultural Diplomacy. This case has been in the World Court, the International Court, since 1972. And 5 years ago, it was resolved that that area that was into Cameroon remains Cameroon. It's one of the people say, no, we are Nigerians. We have always been Nigerians. Even when the treaty was signed in 1884, we were Calabar people. We were not Cameroonians. But Cameroon had more legal evidence and records, and so they won, and so the people are now in Cameroon, and even the part that was Nigeria has been cut more into Cameroon, and so there's a conflict there. Actually, you may not know that that was what happened that led to the Niger Delta uprising in Nigeria, where the Niger Delta, you said what? Our resources are used to develop 3/4 of Nigeria, and we're not getting development. So if Bakassi can be treated like this, it means that when oil finishes to be the mainstay of Nigerian economy, will be banished from Nigeria too. So the restiveness that led to violence, kidnapping of oil workers, and so on. And so people like me thought about it and said, what do we do? The people believe they are the same people. Why should they be fighting themselves? Why shouldn't their case come not to the International Court, which is a legal body, but to the People's Court, where people realize that we are dealing with people with flesh and blood, with history and a future. And so say, it doesn't matter what nation you belong to. Fortunately, the concept of the nation state is also dying, it's weakening. The concept of national sovereignty has been overtaken by the supranational national government, and globalization is weakening the powers of the nation, except for strong nations like Germany, France, Britain. I was happy to read this morning Britain saying that they will make more progress if they stayed out of the EU than if they came to EU, strengthening the idea of nationhood. When we are saying we are one people, one humanity. So we don't need the nations. So I said, if we use cultural diplomacy, by promoting cultural productions and cultural interaction between the Pakasi people in Cameroon and those in Nigeria, they'll be more and more reminded that they are one people and that what's important is their humanity, their well-being, not what nation you belong to. And if they face the world with that unity, that they have the same dances, the same songs, the same funeral deck, the same poetry, the same literature, they would come to appreciate that there's no need for violence, that dialogue and communication and interaction is the basis for progress in the emerging world. But they can't do this so long as they remain poor. That's where the XY colonial masters are important. Germany, where the problem was created in 1884, and Britain and France must come together and say, we need to support these people to showcase to the world that they are one person and that they realize that living a good lifestyle is much more important than the nation you belong to. So they have to invest maybe massively. That's my first thought. But stimulate the people to know that their future is in their hands. It depends on their perception of the world. And if they get to know more and more about cultural diplomacy and use it on a strategic and planned basis, the world will move from focusing on differences to focusing on the oneness of all peoples of the world. And that's really why I want to support this concept of cultural diplomacy and do all that we can to promote it to become a worldwide discipline supported by the people and governments of the world. Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah, let me. I was thinking, like, Africa is becoming more and more important for world economy and because of population growth. But do you think that African studies departments at universities are becoming more important? Is it important for young people to study and research? For example, I'm coming from Croatia, and in whole country we don't have any African studies possibility.
Thank you. I think you are missing out on the emerging world because we are resolved as Africans to take over from China when China declines in leading the world. We intend to reclaim our position when Egypt was the center of civilization and spread civilization to the world. You Caucasians, I'm sorry to say, beheaded our civilization, passed it to Greece, and from then Europe took over the leadership of civilization. We're happy that Europe had its chance, died with the collapse of the Roman Empire. Then the US took over. US recognizing that there is no, in the life cycle theory, you can never be on top forever, started their diversity visa about 10, 15 years ago to make the intelligent and brilliant people of the world all Americans, as they were prolonging their life at the plateau of leadership. Fortunately, even that is failing. As my good friend said today, the Africans in the diaspora are saying, what are we doing about our homeland? Because we are becoming alien to our homeland, and we're not accepted as natives or citizens where we are living. So our contribution is out, including Professor Terry, please. Know that no matter how long you serve here, Zimbabwe is the place, and all Zimbabweans are Africans, the color notwithstanding. So we think that anybody who wants to be part of the new world when China will have finished, and I give China 20, 25 years, must begin to study Africa now. As the minister said, the food that will feed the new world must come from Africa. We have the land. We have the people. What we do not have now is the machinery to make the people who are producing to produce so much that they can feed the world. The second thing we do not have now is the education that will orientate African youths to depend on their hands in combination with the heads, such that it will not be the old Africans who will be producing the food that the world will depend on. So they will not run away from the rural area to the city to go and look for white-collar jobs. which are non-paying, whose salaries are delayed. Somebody reminded me today that as professor in the university, we were almost for 1 year, we had no pay. Our government was looking at us, we were on strike because the money doesn't come from the taxpayer. So I'm saying we need, so long as this world must feed, and must feed on good food, not on chemicalized food, Africa is the only hope for this world. Thank you. So in Croatia, you should do more of African studies. But don't do the kind of that focuses on history. History is only good a subject as a way of pointing the way for the future, not for you to lament the past and remain with it. That way you are dead. We want the living Africa and the living world. Thank you very much.